Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 11:24 a.m. on the 26th of March 2024. Not long hauled out of bed. I'm very, very nervous and excited because I received a phone call this morning at 10. Actually, didn't take the call because I was still snoozing, and had to fight to get back through their switchboard system because the nurse that left a message for me, I couldn't get back through their system, and it kept saying they were closed until tomorrow, and I was like, that's just ridiculous. Someone's just called me. So I had to intrepidly fight their administration gone wrong. I told you all the hospital administrations have gone completely feral and weird. It's just bizarre. But anyway, I kept calling and I kept calling and I kept calling until I finally got a human and actually got through to the nurse, and she said, yes, I've tried to explain to them that it's no good having things go to the after hours switch. Like, it's a glitch in their system. So should I trust a hospital that can't organise their phone switch with my precious Mama T body? One would think not, but it's just they can't really fuck it up. It's it's just well, they can. But anyway, it's there was a cancellation for my urodynamics test, which I'm going to have tomorrow at 10:15. So I have to get up, bright and early, and catch my bus and go off to the Mater. And anyway, I'm kind of excited about it because I can see that both my private urologist and my psychiatrist, who has been the driving force behind all this actually, have fought so hard to get me to this stage of even getting this testing done. And because it was going to have to wait another 3 months, but the nurse I spoke to when I booked in said they would try and get me on a cancellation list. So I'm very fortunate to be getting this test tomorrow, even though I'm kind of dreading it at the same time, because they did warn me that it's an uncomfortable test. But you know what? What will be will be. It has to be done, and once they conduct the test tomorrow, they will know whether I require, 10 or 12 shots of Botox in the bladder, and which muscles in the bladder particularly need extra help, and they can have, hopefully while they're in there, they can have a jolly good look at my TVT tape and see how bad that is or how reasonably good nick it's in. We don't know till they look at it. And yes, hopefully that will all get resolved. And if the Botox isn't going to impact on the TV tape, which is what my urologist is a little bit worried about, then it may make my health even worse. Which, if it makes it any worse, I'm going to be people, because I already feel reasonably depleted. But anyway, that's catastrophizing. I'm sure I'm not that bad. And I'll tell you why I'm not that bad, even though I feel pretty bad. I pushed my body beyond the realms of ordinary mortal imagination again and danced 2 nights on the weekend. And I have to chuckle about that because it's my spirit. My spirit probably knew that this, because they did tell me, when I booked in a week or so ago that I would be eligible for a cancellation appointment. So my own spirit already knew that I'm going to be undergoing this kind of treatment regime. It will probably knock me off my socks for a few days. So my spirit said, right, Tanya, when in doubt, dance. And I made a feast of it on the weekend, for which I'm still kind of, a little bit tired and recovering from. But it's all good, people. It's all good. The gods and my beautiful psychiatrist and my even more beautiful urologist are fighting for me hard, and my friends are cheering me on and fighting for me hard to get better health, and by the gods, if this works, I'll have a whole new life ahead of me, because I'll be able to achieve things, because I'll have more energy, because I'll actually sleep. If this works, I'll also have to dance even more, perhaps do 2 nights every weekend, and have more exercise, and I'll have to be more conscious about what I'm eating and ploughing into my face on a daily basis, get my weight down, heal my sleep apnea, and if Mama T heals that, I'll be dangerous, because I'll have so much energy, psychic, physical, mental, emotional, that I'll be a healthy, normal, functioning woman, perhaps for the first time ever in my life. Look out, boys. A healthy, functioning, motivated, juiced up woman. The crowd goes wild. But anyway, I'm imagining that outcome, because there is also potential that under general anaesthesia that I can die too. So let's be real here. I won't run with it too fast. I won't run with that imaginary ball too fast, because my life is always a little bit extraordinary, people, and doesn't always go according to plan. But having said that, I can see that there is amazing potentials ahead of me, and even potentials for loving partnerships, because if I'm not up peeing 6 to 20 times a night and sleeping, I can actually invest emotionally in someone and hopefully have a normal, healthy sex life again after, a decade of actually shutting all that off, partly because I knew I wasn't well enough, and partly because I don't want my heart broken ever again, like it's been totally trampled into the ground historically by the most malfeasant, low-life, evil fucking gimps. So there is that. But the other reason that was always in the back of my mind was, how can I bring someone into my life when I'm fucking chronically ill all the time? It's just not, it's not cricket, it's not fair. So, the universe, in her characteristic relationship with me, which is, as I said, extraordinary, is giving me all these little green lights. We'll get your bladder calm down, Tanya, and we'll get you well, Tanya. And then all doors can be blasted off. All the doors, all the obstacles can be blasted off, and the rest will be really up to, my own spirit, and also whoever decides that they adore me enough to want to be with me, even with all my other health issues which won't go away, no matter how much sleep I get and how wonderful my bladder behaves. But those issues have been pretty much sorted after 25 years of therapy, so it'll be just a matter of someone loving me enough to be prepared to stand by my side and be with me in the good, the bad, and the indifferent times. So, that's a fantasy, people. That's a fantasy. But, it's something that my psychiatrist has had great hope for me to achieve, also. And has invested heavily in therapy and that, and getting me able to discern better and not invite horrible, abusive, cruel, sadistic men into my world, right? So there's going to be a lot of exponential healing from now on, from this moment on, because once that bladder's settled and sorted and rested a bit, and I can get actual sleep, my creativity will explode too. I've already been flogging my dead horse for the last 8 years already, while feeling very unwell most of the time. I've already achieved a lot. So I'm almost curious to see what I might achieve when I'm reasonably well again. That could be astonishing, people. So I'm very excited. I'm dreading the actual, testing tomorrow because it won't be pleasant, but I'm also excited. So, I continue on with today's readings of even date, 26th of March, 2024. And it's kind of funny. I'm amused by the title I gave it. These titles I would have put in a year, 2, even 3 years ago. Magicians of love and light flowing exponentially, smiley face. And indeed, I've been surrounded by magicians in the occult sense, in the mystical sense. My psychiatrist, I actually described recently in one of my videos or in one of my writings on Vocal Media, I can't remember which, that I've been thinking about how he is kind of like the magician in the tarot deck, weaving, both his amazing skills as a psychiatrist, but also weaving his own personal magic, fighting for me and making sure I get proper treatment at this late stage of my life, because it was becoming very, very necessary, because I was actively choosing death, people, if the truth be known. I had resigned myself to it. So he is indeed a magician for being constantly there for me in therapy for the last 13 years, and B, investing with his own money into getting me to a private urologist, and C, kind of nudging and pushing a little bit from the background to make sure that things fall into place and as quickly as possible, so that I can commence treatment, whatever treatment my urologist decides is appropriate, given that I have this autoimmune inducing alien thing attached to my bladder, right? So she will make that call, since she is the urologist. But it's just wonderful how they're both fighting for me, and I've never had that before. Have two specialists fighting for me. I've been so systemically abused in the system that it was almost like they were, at certain periods of my life, hoping I would just crawl away and die. But that no one should ever underestimate the human spirit, and in particular the spirit of the Tanya, who has fought through so many awful, horrific events in her life, and that's why my psychiatrist has fought for me so darned hard, because he knows what my childhood was like, and my 20s and 30s and 40s, and he's seen what my 50s were like and my late 40s. As he said to me, I've been on this journey with you the whole way. So a beautiful soul, and a wonderful doctor who's stood by me, and just knowing that I have people who've stood by me has been an immense gift in that alone, especially after all the epic foulness and betrayals in my personal, former love lives and family life. So I'm grateful, and I'm humble, and I am blessed, and I'm seeping with so much love for all of you right now, and I'm also seeping with love for me, that together we're getting through this, and there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and for once it's a light of me being healed, and coming more and more into my own power as a woman, and being able to achieve things that I never thought possible before, whatever they might be when they manifest. I'll just settle and be grateful for having a truly loving partner who adores me, and we can actually be together, because I'm not chronically in a state of siege, feeling like I'm going to be dropping dead from one moment to the next, or feeling like life's not tenable because I'm that fucking ill all the time. So that I could actually be with someone and rejoice in being with them and know that I can contribute to the relationship in great joy and peace and happiness because I'm not trapped in, my own body's dereliction anymore. Well, let's hope so, hey. Let's hope so. The meme I posted and I put author unknown is from the posted on the 26th of March 2021. Just because you may be feeling broken, remember a kaleidoscope is also made of broken parts. When you look through it, you see something beautiful. That's true. I have become beautiful in older age, more than ever before. It's almost like I've returned to my pristine state. Well, not quite exactly, but spiritually, to my Miss Five persona, who was not broken. Well, she was a little bit broken. She'd already nearly died when she was 4, but you know what I mean? Like that pure state where you're just pure emanation, and when you could trust in the world, and when life was beautiful, and you were not afraid to live fully and embrace everything. That childlike innocent state where everything was possible and uncontaminated and untainted. So I feel like at 59 years of age nearly, very close to 59 now, yes, it's almost like a soul return on my personal life cycle that I'm going to have to kick off the training wheels and fully incorporate my being. And if that happens, my goodness, I may actually get quite old if I'm not constantly struggling with my health and feeling fucking suicidal intermittently all the time. There was a moment when I go into my trance zone, when I actually move in and out of peaks of utter bloody exhaustion, people, when I was dancing at the Koala Tavern and on my own on the dance floor because the people in the back, a few people that were there were shy and reticent, but I don't care. I dance. I dance for me, I dance for the band, but I also dance for the gods. And it's powerful and spiritual and beautiful, but looks quite insane to the uninitiated. Let's face it. Let's be real here. Scott's playing guitar, watching me move in and out of my body. He's also a magician. I've worked it out. Another magician in my life. I don't like being manipulated though, boys. Both of you, my doctor and my friends, don't manipulate me. Because I will act out and I will rebel and I'll be defiant. But they've worked that out about me now, haven't they? My gorgeous men, my gorgeous, beautiful men, my beautiful friends, my doctor and my friends. But anyway, there was a moment when I left my body, as I told you in the video the other day. I was floating around and it was just like looking up to the I wasn't within my inner, I had my eyes closed, people, but I'm looking up to the ceiling and I'm like just in this state of fucking bliss, man. I'm like, I didn't actually make that sound out because that would look crazy, but that's the vibration. It was like, and I was getting all these downloads. I knew they were downloads, but I couldn't. You know when you try to catch on to a download, you can't because it's energetic. And I fucking knew, I thought, this is the moment when your life changes forever. Things are going to fall into place now. The pieces are all going to fall into place, and this is all laid out for you now. And then my sweet friend, Scott said to me, look, honestly, I keep repeating fucking stories all the time. I worry that I'm skirting around dementia, but part of that is just probably sleep deprivation. But he has a little chat to me in his break, and he says to me, it's your birthday on the 12th. I was quite astonished. I said, how do you know it's my birthday? He said, you told me. I have no memory of telling him when my birthday is. Well, I must have, because he knew the exact date and everything. And so I looked at him, I'm thinking, far out, man. What are you saying to people, you mad woman? And he says to me, yeah, it's your birthday. What are you going to do on your birthday? I said, Scott, my birthday falls on a Friday night this year. I said, I only just discovered when I looked at the calendar. I said, so guess where I will be on my birthday? And he went, the Brooklyn Standard. And I went, yes, because I always go there on a Friday night. I have been since I've started going there on the 25th of August. So he says to me, oh, are we playing that weekend? And I went, no, I don't think so. I think Ramjet are on that Friday. And he went, oh, it's so sweet. He goes, oh, he says, never mind. He says, I'll make sure you have a great birthday. He says, I said to him, yeah, it'll be good. I said, I've already decided what I'm going to do. He says, what are you going to do? I says, I'm going to go up to the bar and I'm going to rock their world. He goes, how are you going to do that, Tanya? I says, well, I'm going to order a cocktail. And they tell each other that I only ever order Jack Daniels and Coke, so it'll blow their head off. And he's like looking at me and laughing. And I said, I'm going to order a cocktail. I said, and when they say, what are you doing, Tanya? Why are you ordering a cocktail? I said, I'm not going to tell them it's my birthday. I'm going to say, well, my darlings, you have arrived on a very special night, one of the mistress's affairs, and then keep them guessing. He said, no, don't do that. Tell them it's your birthday. And I'm like, no, I don't want them to all know it's my birthday, because that's just weird, man. And like, I'm an old lady. Like, who gives a fuck, really? I said the whole thing is about me just spoiling myself by having a cocktail. Anyway, which I don't normally, I couldn't care less really about the cocktail, to be honest. It's just something to just break out of my normal routine because it's my birthday. It's just something a bit magical and special, just for me. But anyway, Scott looks at me and he says, I'm going to pay for that cocktail, and there might even be more than one cocktail. Well, I hope not, because I've got to drive home, people. Let's be real here. So one cocktail is enough. Okay, maybe two. But anyway, look at how I'm wrangling the system. I'm a cheeky little bugger, aren't I? I've just realised. No, honestly, no, one cocktail is enough. And I'm perfectly okay if I buy it for myself. Seriously. I'm an independent woman. But his heartfelt reaction was, I'm going to tell them it's your birthday and there will be cocktails. Oh, how delightful. So I said to him, oh, you're so sweet, Scott. Thank you so much. You're so lovely, And, but yes, it's a shame that he's not playing that night because, yeah, boy, would we be hamming it up, because I'll be all cheeky and ebullient and mischievous and, oh my gosh, there will be hamming up on my birthday just for the magical aspect of, it's my birthday and I want to be happy and frivolous Emanate, emanate, absolute, the world of emanation, people, in Kabbalah. Well, do I emanate on my birthday, people? It's quite some emanations happen usually on my birthday. So, anyway, it's quite delightful. But what I was really astonished was that Scott even remembered when my birthday is. It's like, that's very sweet. And so I found out when his birthday is, and I was actually quite annoyed because when his birthday was recently in December, and had I known it was his birthday, yes, he would have been playing the day after his birthday, I would have made sure to, make a bit more of a fuss of him too. So, because that's what friends do, right? So I feel a bit annoyed that I didn't realise that. But see, the trouble is sometimes he must have a better memory than me. Some people have got like photographic memories and remember everything, right? Whereas my memory can be a bit dithery at times, especially with all this, chronic exhaustion from the bladder. But anyway, I know when his birthday is now, so it won't be forgotten ever, ever again. And yes, I'm like that. My true friends, I try to remember their birthdays. So anyway, on that note, let me continue on with my readings. I've already written about that about the urology appointment booked in for tomorrow in my vocal media. I'll just repeat this for YouTube as well. Thank you to my doctors who have invested so heavily in my health in recent months. In fact, from my psychiatrist from his own pocket. You are more determined for my longer continuance than even I have historically been. You want me thriving. Love you. Big agape love, I mean by that. Nothing sus, people. 26th of March 2023. Two fails with Yoda today. The first attempt, his ears failed, a constant problem, that one. The second attempt this evening, I could not get the silver to melt with the map torch twice, which is odd. It should be melting, but maybe the reason it didn't melt was I was doing it out in the cold night air, number one, so it was cooler, and number two, the gas might not have been enough bottle left in the gas, and therefore it didn't have enough strength behind it, output of heat. Anyway, I continue on. My nerves got frazzled and I was melting in the dark. So I'd been out there trying to get the silver to melt for a few hours, right? My nerves really did get frazzled. The silver would not melt. Both MAP gas bottles were half empty. I used up all of one and quit when the second bottle wouldn't melt either. I guess the silver is too burned, ? Recycled too many times. I still don't know what happened with that. I think I just chucked it out and started with fresh in the end. Fresh silver does melt quite well though, but it can be recycled a few times. I don't know. I'm not a metallurgist. A metallurgist better sit me down and tell me exactly what I was doing wrong and why, but I'm teaching myself, people, so I'm learning, and I need to be my own magician and work my own magic and get the silversmithing idea underway, but no one buys my stuff anyway. So even if my bladder's fixed and I've got more resources and energetic and fiscal to create more jewellery, it's kind of a moot point since it doesn't sell. But wow, I'll be able to make love to a gorgeous man again if I find someone willing and able and interested. And I'll be able to maybe not running around in a chronic state of ill health. I don't know, maybe eventually do some courses, but there's no silversmithing courses available unless I get an apprenticeship, so I'm pissed off about that, because that's what I want to learn. I want to learn how to be a proper jeweler and set stones and, make beautiful, fine jewellery and gold and diamonds and rubies and oh my. I know that sounds opulent and a bit fucking narcissistic, but it's like, I'm an ambitious woman. I always go from 0 to 100. If I start something, I do it even in my relationship. Sometimes it's why men get scared sometimes. I'll get so excited and think, oh well, and I'll jump the gun sometimes. So I'm trying very hard not to do that, especially since all my friends are platonic and not available. So I'm not jumping any guns, people, behaving myself. It's hard because they're so lovely to me. But anyway, I'm a full-throttled woman, so if I go and study something, I put so much pressure on myself when I can't do things, as I discovered with the silversmithing self-teaching journey. There were months when I would go into deep fucking grief and frustration that I couldn't get the soldering right. And then one day it just clicked and bang, and oh my gosh, I was dancing around my backyard in the garden like a forest sprite. Well, I am named after Queen Titania, the forest fairies. So I went all fey and I was dancing. Yeah, I can do soldering now. If I can do soldering, I can create and make stuff, and now I can do anything. And then I had a few setbacks and I went back to my morose state of, you can't do anything, you're a dickhead, you're useless, Tanya, blah, blah, blah. And that's my tape put in my head by my evil, perverted, sadistic parents, which is something I still fight against on a daily basis, even after decades of therapy. So, but what I'm saying is, if I get well and I have mental clarity, I'll be able to read and study and achieve things again, for things I haven't been able to achieve for decades. People will become potentialities, is what I'm saying. Potentialities. If I don't drive myself mad with overachieving and self-doubts and criticism, and if I don't invite people into my life like I had a long history of in the past, who fucking sabotage me and literally try to kill me as well, which is the ultimate sabotage. So we'll see. We'll see what life brings now. We'll see. I'll have to trust in my spirit, and I'll have to trust in my higher being, spirits, and trust in my doctors, and trust in my true, heartfelt, loving friends who will be excited for me to get well again and achieve, and hopefully, will remain in my life, support me in the good times too, because those are the kind of friends I value most. The ones who aren't just there when you're dragging your sorry ass around trying not to die, but are there to celebrate with you joyously and triumphantly and in great bliss when I actually do well in life and succeed and thrive and make it. Because the other really fucking toxic thing that used to happen to me was I had friends that were only happy when I was down and out for the count and living like a fucking zombie, by the way. And when the few times I would start to pick up and say, oh, I'm going to achieve this, or let's do this, they would sabotage it because they didn't want me healthy and happy and and having a truly loving partner, and they wanted to keep me in this soul trap, right? So those people are no longer in my life, and it was a long process of winnowing the chaff from the wheat and eliminating those kinds of people that were not supportive of me in my few moments of happiness and triumph, but would constantly feed me negative feedback loops to keep me down and ground under and out for the count. So I know who my true friends are now, because they're all like, yay, you're going to get the Botox and you're going to get well and you're going to succeed and you're going to be joyful and happy and you're going to be in love with life again and life's going to be in love with you again, and you're going to dance the dance of the sublime and the successful and the supremely, exquisitely loved and loving, and you're going to be all the things you only ever fucking dreamed about, Tanya Phillips Aarons. So, there we have it. I'm excited. I'm excited about just the possibility. I made the mould differently this time, vertical instead of horizontal. But I won't know if this will have made a difference, as I ran out of gas and silver. But I went ahead and made the mould anyway, because I was being intrepid and determined and not giving up. And oh my gosh, if you ever see me being intrepid and determined and not giving up, I'm like a fucking Rottweiler with a dead rabbit in my mouth that someone's trying to pull out of my mouth. I'm like, it's actually quite astonishing, and I haven't seen that quality in me until I started the silversmithing, and I realised that that was my potential to a better life, where I could be self-determined, maybe have my own little business again, and get myself off the disability pension and have my own money. That was the fantasy at the time, right? So you should have seen me fight my own inadequacies and incompetencies and lack of knowledge and lack of skills. I would literally be like, grinding my teeth because I wanted it that much. So, fortunately, I don't behave like that in romantic relationships. Maybe slightly if I want something that much, but I will not compete against other women. I will not cheapen myself. So nobody's seeing that behaviour out of me, because I have dignity and I have pride and I have self-determination, and you know, I actually wanted my success to come from my own efforts, you know, from my own abilities, and not live on the fucking charity and grace of a mortal human man like I did when I married young, and yes, inherited, and we were wealthy, but none of that was really mine. And I was constantly reminded of how I was just basically a charity fuck and living at his mercy, and that I actually owned nothing and had nothing and was nothing. So I don't want that situation to ever happen to me again, to live at the mercy of a mortal man telling me, oh, well, you've got nothing, which I do have nothing. I don't have my own home, I don't have my own land. It's all been stolen from me by malfeasant bastards, including my own mother. I live in housing commission on a disability pension, so you can imagine why I've had this inner drive in recent years, basically 5 years since I was vomited back by the gods after the gallbladder surgery, when I actually did die briefly. I've had this innate drive to find my own, forge my own path and find my own way to earn a living, which hasn't manifested yet, because as I said, I've made some lovely things, but nothing's sold, and the markets are too hard for me. But then again, maybe if I get healthier, the markets won't be such a strain on my body and mind and spirit, and I might be able to push myself out there again. But there's not much point if things don't sell, right? Which has been the other problem. So I would actually have on a few occasions done feats of superhuman strength and push myself out there only to come back with financial loss because things didn't sell or it didn't cover the cost of the market stall and were epic fucking failures. But anyway, if I get healthy and strong enough and my mental health gets better, so I'm not quite so flubbery and wishy-washy and spiraling up and spiraling down as I've always done since early childhood. If I get more stronger, I might even be able to get a frickin' job and get off that disability pension. That's a scary thought because I don't do well in the workforce because I'm too intelligent, but I'm also too defiant and obstreperous and too bloody broken, and people pile on their shit on me, as is evidence when you see how I was driven out of several dance spaces in the past by other people's envy and viciousness. So I don't do well in group dynamics. It's a massive fucking problem. It's why I wanted to establish my silversmithing business and learn as much as I can, which I will continue doing, just for the sheer hobby of it, not because I expect it to turn into a business, really, because it's already not looked viable. But I'll continue doing that. It gives me joy. And it means I work at home, in my own home, at my own pace. And the only pressures that are applied on me are the pressure I put on myself when I fail at learning a new skill. Like, well, my next step that I want to learn now is setting stones. And that'll be a long process because I've got no teacher around. I have to learn from YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. And you only learn by doing with silversmithing. You have to learn by your own mistakes over and over again until finally, by Jove, you've got it right and it clicks and it works perfectly. And then you have to keep doing it so you can keep repeating it so it's locked in your brain, you know, muscle memory, and you know what you're doing, right? Like any new skill. So I want that for myself. I want to be self-employed, so I'm not under pressure by other horrible fucking humans, which eventually they always go rancid in my life. That's a given. So self-employed, self-determined, successful in my own right, that's my goal, people. And also to have my truly loving partner with me, because that's both a fantasy and a goal. And but if I have my own money and income one day because I've succeeded at the jewellery making or some other endeavour I haven't thought about yet, then I'll be able to invite a love partner into my life and not feel like a complete fucking lobbits, living off their finances and at their mercy. You know, I'm telling you now, people, I lived that way for 10.5 years in my marriage. I was with my husband for 12 years. There is nothing worse than lying in bed next to a man that doesn't actually love you or have your back or protect you or support you. I mean, yes, I was supported financially. I had a roof over my head and food in my mouth. There was always plenty of wonderful food. Our fridges and pantry were always fully stocked. You know, it's a Jewish thing. We have a fear of privation and pogroms and starvation people. So we always had plenty of good food. He was a good provider in that respect. I will give him credit where it's due. But there is nothing worse than sitting at a dinner table, being screamed at if you weren't there at exactly 6 o'clock, like you were some kind of army drill, which, by the way, I'm a free spirit. I don't take fucking orders. That's one of the reasons why, people, that abuse dynamic. So he would scream that if we were 2 minutes late coming to the dinner table for dinner, which, to be fair, he cooked all the meals for 10.5 years. There's a story behind that. Won't go into it for the purpose of this diatribe. But so I would get up there, children would be sitting there, and and it was just awful. It's no way to fucking live, you know. The food going into my mouth, even though it was beautifully cooked and prepared food, would taste like cardboard. And looking at him and eating would be like, oh, well, I'm eating your food, but I'm at your fucking mercy, and I'll have to fuck you later as well. It was that sickening is how it felt, the whole thing, you know. It's like, ugh. So there's a reason why I never want to live like that ever again, and why and leaving him was life-threatening. I was attacked and strangled. He'd set someone up to do it, so there's that. So it's not getting into relationships that I fear so much. It's the getting out of them safely that I fear. And that's why I want to be my own version of success. And I don't want my money to come to me via a man, as in a sexual partner, because then they just fucking own you and you're nothing. You're just a nothing and an object and a thing. And they chip away at you and chip away at you and chip away at you until you really are dead, either physically dead or emotionally, spiritually, mentally dead. And I really was a zombie. I really was. I was dead. And when I finally sparked enough life in myself to courageously take my children and leave, I was almost murdered too. So someone asked me recently why I walked in off the street in 2011 in the midst of my mother's evil, foul, awful will dispute. Why I invited myself off the street to an outlaw motorcycle clubhouse. Why would you even do such a thing, Tanya? I said, well, number one, I'm not mainstream, and ordinary mainstream men don't like me or find me repellent. And number two, so I was going there to look for a partner actually, because I need someone who is as quirky and unusual as I to vibe with me, right? Spiritual, courageous, and a real man. I need that. That's what I need, an equal in my life. So I said, well, part of that was I was looking for a real man. Part of it was I was very, hurt and angry about my ex-boyfriend who broke up with me at the end of September 2010, 6 months after my mother died. So I deliberately went to a rival clubhouse, basically to get my own version of kind of quirky revenge. It wasn't really revenge because it had nothing to do with them, but in my spirit was like, got you good, And so there was that. And I said, quite honestly, I was chasing death, really. But I was made so welcome there because they loved my spirit and my wit and my humour so much. I was actually welcomed there for 8 months until it went bad at the end, but, that's okay. That was also done, I believe, for my protection. I was very well held in high regard and really well loved. So, yes, so this person I was telling the story to was a bit taken aback and a bit astonished, because the Tanya in full femme fatale glory, with all her synapses twinging and twanging, can do anything and can walk in and out of any echelon of society and can be the best version of herself in all circumstances. I've even realised in the last 6 months, as I struggled after Beauregard's death and I really was laid quite low, plus struggling with these health issues, that my creativity and my life force is immense, fucking immense. So, and my psychiatrist knows that. That's why he's fought so hard for me. He can see the potential when I get better, get healthier. So I've gone again on a round kind of tangent. So you have to bear with me. I'm a bit mentally all over the place because I did sleep well last night. I got 5 uninterrupted hours of sleep, and then from midnight till it was 6 hours of sleep from midnight till 6 a.m. and then I got up to pee, and then I went back to bed, and I got from 7 a.m. because I was awake Facebooking and that. I got from 7 a.m. till 10 proper deep sleep again when I got woken up by the phone call from the urology department wanting to book me in because they had a cancellation. So technically I've had 8 hours sleep last night, which is a normal night of sleep apart from the break in the middle. So, but I'm a bit flubbery because I overextended my body. I overexerted my body deliberately. I did it to myself deliberately. I wanted to see how I go on the weekend, and so I know that was a little bit too much for me, even though I had a fabulous fucking time, people. I had a wonderful time, so no regrets. But I know I'm not ready to do the 2 nights of dancing just yet. It's too much toll on my physical body. It did it, it achieved it, but now I'm paying for it with being a bit, literally my brain a bit kind of, it feels like a jelly sliding on a plate. It's like, ooh. So anyway, that's why I'm sliding around cyclically in my reading today. Sorry about that. But we're getting there, people. I'm going to get better. And I'm going to get better and better and better. So I was talking how I ran out of gas and silver. So I continue reading. So close, yet so far. I started to get dizzy from the stress of failing yet again. I had to give it up and go and sit down and rest. Because when I get overtired, I get very dizzy and lightheaded and feel like I'm going to faint too. And that's been a bit of a fucking problem for decades, but I've managed to sail through all of that as well and just manage it. Here I write, I wonder if I will ever succeed at anything. So frustrating. I'm so sick to death of constant struggle. But I need to be patient with myself. I have had a few successes, very few, but enough to know what is possible. And my beautiful friend Scott, when we were chatting on Saturday night, And his break reminded me that, you know, I've done well. I've got two self-determined, adult women, grown-up women out in the world living their best life. So that was an achievement too. And yes, I forget that I've achieved a lot of things that technically should not have been possible since I came so close to dying, or actually did die for brief moments on numerous occasions, even in early childhood. So I have achieved almost amazing feats that for other people would be ordinary, like almost anyone can give birth and be a mother unless you have fertility issues, people. It's not actually that much of an amazing thing, it's nature. But for me, giving birth in my immense trauma states with people who were actually actively being sadistic at my bedside was already amazing. Doing something ordinary that got so pressurized and victimized that it became an amazing feat. Raising children in a home where I wasn't actually safe or loved, another amazing feat. And leaving with those children and being cast into complete life-threatening events for the next 5 years, another amazing feat that I survived all of that. Other women died, and their babies. And fighting to get myself through in dire poverty for 29 years, another amazing feat. But I didn't do that by myself. I had the luxury and the gift of being on a mother's pension and then the disability pension, so I've always been provided for in some formal manner. And then I had a little bit of extra help along the way, beautiful benefactors, like my beautiful benefactor that bought me the air conditioner, the beautiful benefactor that bought me a washing machine, and the handsome benefactor that paid for my private urology appointments. I've had a lot of help. I'm here today to tell you I've got all these fantasies about being a raging fucking success, but I haven't done it by myself. I've had a lot of help from other mortals, and of course, without fail, the gods. So, saying I want to be a success in my own right and have my own money and, earn my own money, and so I can have self-esteem and pride that I'm a self-made woman and I've made it. That's a fantasy, people, at this late stage of life. It really is. It's probably not going to happen. I'm probably going to languish on the bloody disability pension till I die, but, we'll see. We'll see what I can pull together after my health. If and when my health improves, which is becoming possible, we'll see what I can pull out of my hat, because I too am a magician of the mystical kind. I'm powerful. I'm courageous. I'm a bit fucking fierce at times. But I'm also very intrepid and determined. And I'm a hard worker. So if I have my health in order, I'll be able to work even fucking harder. Be a slave to the machine like everybody else, right? That's a scary thought, because I'm also an anarchist and a revolutionary, and kind of don't look forward to being a slave to any machine that would have me as a member. But I would like to have my own business again a successful, thriving business. And that doesn't happen overnight, people. I need to sell my stuff. I need to create more. I need to improve on my skills so I can set beautiful stones. I need to chill the fuck out because I'm overthinking the future thinking right now. Calm my farm. 8:28 a.m. Awake and out of bed. I had a much better sleep. Hallelujah. But I just awoke from a dream about my mother coming to visit me. Oh, dear goddess, I hate that bitch. She doesn't leave me alone even in my dreams. I have to say, she's sort of drifted off in the last 12 months, so that's good. It's probably why I'm getting better. I'm no longer under her demonic oppression. Please, God, let that be so. So this was written in 2023, so 1 year ago, which this is going to be very fucking interesting, people. Pay attention to your dreams. I repeat, but I just awoke from a dream about my mother coming to visit me. I had gold jewellery strewn across the table and was frantically looking for designs suitable for mould making or for casting. She looked at me, her face tight and fierce looking. She really did have that expression many times during my childhood. With not an ounce of kindness, but tore out a checkbook out of her handbag and scribbled down into it. I held my breath, which I would do in real life, by the way. In real life, my mother rarely gave me money. There were always either huge scenes that she staged for the benefit of her neighbours, or actual legal documents drawn up charging high interest on the occasion my husband and I needed bridging finance until his inheritance came through to buy our house, freehold. She charged us 14% interest for 3 months. I think the interest rates in those days were only about 11%, by the way, or 8%. So, but she made us sign a contract and she charged that level of high interest because she was a greedy motherfucker, my mother. Which is why I make every effort to be the extreme opposite of her, even sometimes to my own detriment. I refuse to be a greedy, selfish, narcissistic, psychopathic, fucking piece of work. I could have been. It's in the DNA. It's probably in the brain somewhere wanting to create connections to turn into her at any given time. But I fight against it, people. My mother was the kind of woman that in getting, these sweet little, friendship and almost romantic overtures from my friend in the band, my mother would have just completely destroyed him by now, seduced him and destroyed him just because she could. That's what she was like. She was completely fucking evil and mercenary. If she wanted a man, she didn't care if he was married. Didn't blip on her radar at all. It's just about, power and control and getting the fuck. I'm not like that. I'm not. I want my own partner who loves me deeply, who chooses me of his own free will, by body, heart, mind and spirit. I want that, but I'm not going to oppress or control or debase or destroy a man or his family members For what? For a brief frickin' frottering, and then you go away and you're fucking empty. My mother must have liked living with that level of void inside her. Of course she did. She was a narcissist. They all have a huge fucking void inside of them that can never be satisfied and can never be satiated and can never be filled. See also my former lover that was Machiavellian. Same dark triad, right? Same type. A user, an abuser and a manipulator. But I will never become like them. Never. I'd rather die than be like them. And I came close to dying so many times that I know that it's still more honourable and decent than going through life as a fucking narcissistic psychopath, by the way. They really are the world's worst form of psychic vermin. I despise them with every fibre of my being because I lived it with my own mother and sister and father and 2 predatory sexual predators, my godfather and my de facto stepfather. 5 of those motherfuckers I survived in childhood. So I'm hoping that I will never attract a dark triad type into my life ever again, because it will kill me eventually. I won't be able to take it anymore. There's only so much even the Tanya can take. There was a time we borrowed $2,000 to pay for my front tooth crown, and I came home swollen, bruised, and brutalised by that dentist. Oh, he was a bastard, that man. This is the thing. You go and you put your faith in health professionals and you get yet another sadist. I was 20 when that happened, newly married, by the way. Oh, dear goddess. But my mother demanded the $2,000 immediately back. She had lent it to my husband to pay for my teeth, my 2 front teeth. Sadistic she was. Let us also not ever forget how she and her conman husband coerced me into bankruptcy for $9,000 when I was very vulnerable, suffering a mental breakdown, had been freshly strangled, by the way, so I was severely traumatised. And my ex-husband had also withheld child support, so I could not pay my debts. How she screamed at me that I was bad with money and useless, and he, Buck Shearer, had also screamed at me. So in a trance-like state, suicidal and thinking there was no other options, I gave him what he most wanted, my bankruptcy, which meant later on I was not eligible for power of attorney, so he grasped control of my mother's finances, which had been his long game all along. I hope they both rot in hell. My same mother, who had shaken my father's hand in a gentleman's agreement, yet thought nothing of robbing me of that land on Waiheke Island. Mercenary, evil bitch. But in the dream, I look at her scribbling into a checkbook, doubting my sanity as she never wished me well or gave me financial aid without strings attached that always burned me for years after. So I asked her, "What are you doing?" She hands me a check for $15,000. Buy what you need, Tanya. I can see you struggling so hard to achieve your aims. In real life, $15,000 would just buy me a good quality rolling machine and some silver. But it's a good start. Back to the dream. I believe in you, she says, her jaw snapping with her characteristic Germanic viciousness and hardly looking benevolent at all. It's true, people, it's what she was like. It was almost like her being alive again. Literally, the dream felt that fucking real, people. Like it was real life. Like I'd slipped into her dimension, or it was really happening. Dear Goddess. I look down at the check, my hands shaking, and I start to cry. What fresh nightmare is this? Which is how I really would respond if she had done that even in real life, because you couldn't trust the motherfucker. It was that demonic. That's why I have trust issues in love partnerships and friendships with health professionals, with my government, although thankfully, I had enough trust issues to survive my government's latest bit of fuckery, but there is that, people. So I can be grateful that my mother raised me to be untrustworthy. Not that I'm untrustworthy, but untrusting is what I mean. Thanks, Ma. One of your fucking trauma dynamics actually bore strange fruit for me. A backhanded fucking gift, you evil cow. Says my lucid dreaming side, because I do that in dreams. I'll actually question the dream sometimes, quite lucidly. Checks bounce. She only ever lied and deceived and betrayed and abused and slandered and enabled and violated and desecrated and destroyed. We can go on, and I can throw in a million other adjectives, and nothing changes, people. Nothing. It's all just words, but the energy remains the same. And I've had to fight from coming back from that too. Never fuck with the Tanya. Taking money from her is like dancing with the devil. Devil's a very good dancer. Does the tango, does the lambada. Probably a wonderful lover if you went there too. Mama T won't be going there either. I did make love with devils. I can name them all in human form. I can list them. Dear Goddess, you almost have to laugh. You have to laugh. A few of them were excellent lovers too. Only a few though. Always a cost beyond the price of the evaluation, a chunk of my heart and seeding my soul. I go to push it across the table. Take it, she spits. I got to thinking, which you would have pronounced that sinking. I got to thinking about all the hardships I caused you and the children, and this time I want you to succeed. This is a fucking nightmare, having my mother telling me in a dream that she wants me to succeed. I nod, crying violently in horror and disbelief. I wake up. It's just a dream, but my mother knows how to push my buttons, even in the astral. I bounce out of bed. I will do this without her and her callow, vicious, deceiving, illusory promises of assistance. I can't bank on her, but I can believe in myself. Baby steps. Alone. Success is coming. I can feel it breathing beside me, cheering me on. 1 year ago today, and if you paid attention to what I was saying at the beginning of this video, when I was saying if I get healthy I'll be able to achieve my own version of success, I wonder what the $15,000 represents. I know I'm supposed to get, they'll probably try and screw me out of it because that's what lawyers do, but I'm supposed to get $4,000 sometime this year from the TVT tape, Johnson & Johnson claim. But I can't bank on that because like my mother, they'll probably shaft me too. But I'm supposed to be getting that. So $4,000 if I get it isn't very much to compensate for all the damage that was done to me, but it'd probably almost buy a good enough quality rolling mill, or perhaps a second-hand rolling mill. It'd get me a little bit of a lift up on my way with my silversmithing journey, right? But I can't bank on it. But anyway, maybe that $15,000 that was talked about in that dream 1 year ago today does manifest. $15,000 doesn't buy very much, but it'd get me a rolling machine, it'd get me some nice stones, it'd get me some silver, maybe even a quick trip home to Wellington, New Zealand, so I could see my friend Lynn one more time. I was hoping to go early February, but I didn't have any money. I ran out of money, but I only need probably 2,000 or 3,000, the return airfares is probably about 1,000, and just a little bit extra so I can actually do some lovely things with her for the 4 or 5 days that I go home for, right? Psychedelic dreaming are always dreams, but I'm always stymied by fucking money. It's insane, people. When money comes to me, it comes to me in great, huge, unexpected abundances, though. It just literally lands on my lap almost without trying. So I know it's possible, and it is coming. It is coming, that money. I just don't sit around thinking about it all the time, or I get fucking distressed and distraught. Try and shuck it out of my brain like a typewriter pattern. Ding! When it comes, it will come to me by the will of the gods, quickly and easily and graciously, with harm to none and competition from none. It will land in my lap, and I will be a success, and I will be happy. And if you see me doing whirling dervishes in my back garden, my hair wild, tribal moshing and screaming for joy, it will be a hell of a lot more than $15,000, babies. Let me have my fantasies, darling. They're all I've got left. My fantasies, my psychedelic dreaming. my hopes, my aspirations. 26th of March 2022. In capital letters, I'm yelling at the top of my voice. This is how I heal myself, people. Have you noticed that? YouTube audience? Watch and learn. This is how it's done, babies. Those of you struggling like me, put energy into it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. However that song goes. I am worthy. I am highly successful. I am prosperous. I am healthy. Well, we're working towards that goal. I am happy. Most of the time, I have moments of almost euphoric bliss where I am actually happy. Have to rewrite that story and hit that old-fashioned manual typewriter pattern and watch it slide out all the negativity and trauma processing and dross to be happy. I've learnt to be happy in spite of my traumas though, and that too is an immense success and a power that came from deep within my soul, by the way. Turn the shit to spiritual gold. It's a constant work in progress, and choose to be happy, but not at other people's expense, harming them, being malfeasant or fucking them over, or don't cheat, don't lie, don't abuse. Be happy just because you're alive and because you choose to be a wonderful person and be your own mana, spirit, power, mojo, and your own source of your own happiness, because ultimately you can't get that from another person, and if you do take that from another person, it's short-lived. It has to come from inside you, from the gods, from your own spirit, your own being. I learnt that the hard way too. My ex-former casual lover, Dave, that creature, that thing, one of the things he said to me when we first sort of got involved with each other was, my happiness is paramount. Typical narcissistic, Machiavellian, dark triad thing. His own personal happiness was more important than anything and anyone, and he will destroy to get that happiness. I should have realised I'd invited another narcissist into my body, mind and spirit, but I laughed it off. I said, oh, is it? What about my happiness? And so he used his friends and his lovers to chip away at me in that dance space at the Live Wire bar. And he debased and abused, and you know what? That karma stays with him now, babies, because I got my own happiness back, and I don't need a man to gift me happiness. I want a man who is my equal, a king to my queen, who loves me so beautifully and nobly and joyously and holistically, body, mind and spirit. Soul belongs to God, but loves you, loves me from the bottom of my soul, an equal, a man with deep affection and deep honour and deep respect for me, a man I can also have deep affection, deep honour and deep respect for. Otherwise, that's not love. If one person is in a abuse dynamic, is beaten down and trodden down and ground down. No, 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 no. A beautiful, fully functioning, two-way communication that is loving and courteous and honouring. Equal input, equal energy put into the relationship. And so much love and so much respect surrounded by our friends and family and business associates also loving us and supporting us as a couple. That's what I want, people. I've had entire relationships with people who wanted me dead and actually incorporated their friends to threaten me as well. Is it any wonder that I defiantly rebelled by walking in off the street to an outlaw motorcycle clubhouse because I thought, if I'm going to be threatened, I'm going to have to be queen of my own destiny and be my own fucking godmother and in my own fucking power. And they admired my strength for that too. Not that I was a godmother there, but nothing like that, Not a criminal, people. I just wanted to be with people who understood trauma actually, who've lived through hard times too, and don't judge you as a freak for having survived your own primordial fucking progenitors and your own filthy fucking marriage and your own filthy fucking relationships that came after that. But unfortunately, even they threatened me out with a teeny tiny lady pistol after bringing one of their friends upstairs where I was playing pool and threatening to rape me. So I fought back in my own characteristic way. No man gets to threaten to rape me and get away with that, by the way. So they threatened me out of there with a pistol, and I'm still deeply amused by it all, really. I am. Because I had one true friend in that clubhouse who wasn't there that night, didn't know what was going on. But if he had been there that night and had seen what went down, he would have fucking protected me and stood with me. And I know that for a fact. So, no harm, no foul. Latanya went back out into the streets of Brisbane, went back dancing at that malfeasant, backstabbing environment of the Treasury Casino Live Wire Bar, and held her own for another. When did that thing happen? When did they kick me out of that group? 2012. Held my own for another 11 years because I'm courageous and I'm beautiful, and here I'm still yelling here. I'm truly greatly loved and respected in certain quarters. I am grateful. I'm surrounded by good, kind, life-affirming, life-enhancing people, in brackets, community and or tribe. And I am, at this point in time, surrounded by beautiful people that have been so loving and supportive of me. who have my back and support me in all my endeavours, big and small. I am free. I am living in peace. I am whom I am becoming. A perfect emanation, there's that word again, emanation, Atzilut, in Kabbalah, Atzilut, the world of emanation, where things that are imagined and put into plan are sent down to this planet, to Malkut, to be made manifest. Starts with the dream, with the aspiration, with the design, with the pre-planning, and it emanates into 3D reality, gets created, gets built, the song gets written, the story gets written, the dance gets danced, the love gets made. If it's a fertile, fecund couple, the baby gets inseminated, and so begins the next emanation of the next potentiate of the next life force and life form, and on it goes, like the Mandelbrot sequence and the Fibonacci spiral. And where am I on my Fibonacci spiral at almost 59 years of age? I'm on the upswing, babies. I'm going to start spiraling up more and more my people, my true loves will come to me, stand with me and support me more and more, because we'll stand together as we need to be. We need to be strong in our communities, defending and standing with and loving each other in these crazy, fucked up, dark times. Who knows what else is ahead of us. So it's kind of interesting that the gods have decreed that I get this treatment now and get healthy again. Maybe just in the nick of fucking time, so I can actually be well enough to fight off whatever else might be flung at us in the next 5 to 10 years. Hopefully nothing. Hopefully life will continuously be beautiful. I really hope for that. But either way, I need to be well, and I need to be strong, and I need to be powerful in my own core. I'll just pause here for a moment because I just realised I'm filming on my computer, so I can't respond. It's my friend Jared trying to get hold of me. I'll just because I sent him a message, because he's my family. So, and of course, as you can see, I'm a communicator. So I get news. My knee-jerk reaction is to call my two best friends, Jared and Lynn, and tell them about my good news that I'm getting treatment tomorrow. Well, not really treatment, but testing tomorrow, so that the treatment can begin, right? So I'm a communicator, so I communicate to you on YouTube world, I communicate on vocal media, and I'm a constantly transparent, open communicator. Sometimes I gabble too much though. Have to be conscious of that at times. But I write and I speak and I dance, and in between that I create, jewellery and or other art projects. And in between that, I sleep. And even when I'm sleeping, I'm fucking creative because of my intense psychedelic dreaming, right? So it's constant. I'm constantly existing in this world, constantly working, which is not bad for someone who hasn't held down a job since early 2001. So I've worked hard at staying alive and building my life back. And I've worked hard in therapy. I've worked hard to sustain nourishing relationships with my beautiful friends. If I had a loving partner that truly loved me, I'd probably be working hard to be in that relationship, hopefully not doing all the fucking work though, as I had to do all the emotional labour in my marriage, and it was just too much. You need equal partnerships where you support each other equally. You know, there's times when one partner might need a little bit more support if they're ill, or you know, if they're going through some crisis like they've lost their job, or someone close to them in their family has died, or a pet's died. There's times when you might carry a bit more of the emotional burden and the labour, but ideally, love partnerships, sexual partnerships should be equal. Well, that's what I'm hoping for my future anyway. Oh, poor little Tanya. Oh, don't cry, Tanya. It'll happen one day. So here I continue. I'll repeat that again. I am free. I'm living in peace, dear Goddess. Shalom. I need to live in peace. I am whom I am becoming, a perfect emanation of the I am that I am, which is tattooed on my arm under the burning bush, God's name. I am that I am, or roughly translated as I am who I am becoming, because God is eternal, people. He's also in a constant state of dynamism and change and adaptivity and creation, co-creating, you know. In Hebrew, or is it Aramaic actually? Can't remember if it's Hebrew or Aramaic now. Ayeh, Asher, Ayeh. I think it's Hebrew. With harm to none, so it is done. Smiley face with lots of brackets, which means I'm jumping for joy, people. 26. So isn't it interesting that the energy that was with me a year ago, including that nightmare with my mother, is kind of repeated today? I find that kind of interesting. 26th of March 2021. I had to sell a suitcase which I had never used because I had these fantasies of going home at some stage. Still haven't done that. It's ridiculous, my level of poverty, people. Like, even I have to laugh at it sometimes. And some porcelain drink labels to partially pay for my lawn mowing today. $80, but I only sold for $55. I have made a decision of heart and mind. This shit has to stop. So I will be channeling all my energies in the ensuing months and or years to learning silversmithing with the hope of starting my own business. I am so sick and physically sick of living in dire poverty and being treated by society in general as some kind of loser not deserving of enough to pay my basic needs. The pension does not cover it. Food costs have increased, mowing costs have increased, but the pension has not. I don't know how I will pull myself together enough to succeed financially. It's probably hopeless and too late. But several people have offered assistance with how to get started, what tools to buy, etc. So I think it's going to take some hard work on days I have enough energy and determination, but I can do it. Well, I did do it, but nothing sold. So I've kind of given up in the last 6 months or so. I just thought, what's the fucking point? I'm pissing in the wind, barking up the wrong tree, chasing my own tail, going nowhere in the same hell loop that I've always been in. And I've been trying to push myself off that groove. I really have. I've really tried. But I'm back on this circle. But I know if I found the right man who truly deeply loved me and isn't abusive like my ex-husband and like my other lovers that followed that breakdown of that marriage, that wants me to thrive, and maybe he will support me in a way that is generous and kind and doesn't make me feel like a dirty, scrabby whore eating from a man's table the merest crumbs. Having a truly loving partner that wants you to succeed and wants you happy and wants you healthy and wants you thriving, and most importantly of all, takes delight in you and wants you with him. My goodness, that would be the greatest magic of my life of all, and my greatest bliss and joy too, if it ever truly manifests in 3D reality and isn't just a cycling absolute emanation that's just nefarious and nebulous and doesn't ever become real, as often happens to me too, people. But my dance for alter egos on the weekend was real, and they witnessed it. And those 3 men, my lovely friends in the band, know my true spirit and like me anyway. So, to you alter egos, I won't be doing 2 nights again for a while though. I pushed myself. It was a bit naughty what I did. You were right, I was a bit of a bastard. Not to you, but to me, pushing myself a little bit hard. But I also knew this aerodynamics testing was coming up, and I feared that it might knock me off my perch for a while and I might not feel well for a while and might not be able to dance. So my spirit, knowing what she knows best, sometimes ahead of time, wanted to rejoice now while I was capable of it, push myself a little bit and see how I coped. Because, a couple of people at Brooklyn Standard, one of the bartenders and Richard, the security guy, did ask me, come tomorrow, wanting me to do 2 nights at the Brooklyn Standard, because they obviously enjoy my crazy wild dance, right? They like me being there for whatever reason. Brings them some measure of joy too. All of us together, living our best life, dancing and loving and being playful and enjoying life. They love it. They love it. I said to Richard a few weeks back, I said, I'm not quite there yet. When my health improves, I definitely will come both nights. but I'm not quite ready yet. And so I put myself to the test. From my alter egos, I went both nights. One night to the Brooklyn and the next night to the Koala Tavern, and it was magical, it was powerful, it was beautiful, it was spiritual, but now I've taken a bit of a hit because the old bod with the sleep apnea and all the other issues is kind of not too bad actually. I actually thought I might be out for the count for a few days, so I've done well. But now I'm about to have this this testing, and it'll knock me out for a couple of days. But then I've realised too, Friday is Good Friday, so they'll be closed. They won't be playing Good Friday, the bands. So happy Easter to my Christian friends or people that still celebrate Easter. We just had Purim, so we've got Passover to look forward to. So happy Passover to my Jew crew. That usually falls about a month after Purim. So, and happy Easter to everybody else. And enjoy your one day off, the Good Friday. And I'll have a day off too from dancing on the Shabbat, which, believe you me, I will resent. My heathen spirit, part of my spirit, will fucking resent having my dance on the Holy Shabbat interfered with. But I can put on music at home and do my crazy dance at home. I do that on occasion, just nothing else, to scare the neighbours. Here we are, 1:11 p.m. Make a wish, people. I wish for Amen. Anyway, poor old Tanya living with her interrelationship with angel synchronicities, which is by and large pretty nonsensical people, and living with her gods and her fae and her ancestors that love her because I'm a shaman. I know it seems batshit crazy to many of you that watch my videos, but this is what sustained me and brought me to this season of healing and joy and truest, greatest love, people. My connection to the other dimensions and the gods, literally and figuratively. So whatever works. Other people that had childhoods like mine became drug addicts or suicided or became street prostitutes and then got onto the drugs and then suicided, or had their children taken from them, or turned to crime, became hardened criminals and murderers and, low-grade entities. Other people that had my childhood didn't survive their childhood. So the only reason I'm still alive today is because of my innate love of the gods and the spirits and the earth energies, the elementals, and even my ancestors that loved me, although as a child I didn't know who those beings were, but some of them I used to see in my early childhood. I was more clairvoyant then. Looking back now, must have been actual ancestors coming to give me courage and hope and strength to survive my fucking filthy family. Of course, at that age of life, 3, 4, 5, I didn't know how filthy they were about to become, but the spirits knew. They were trying to ennoble my spirit so I could survive it. Everything happens for a reason, people. Everything and everyone happens for a reason. But by the gods, I want my life to be peaceful and sweet and prosperous and healthy and immersed in so much love. Real love, soul nourishing, heart centered, respectful, honouring love. And I want my truly loving sexual partner, my life partner, to be a real, true love this time. Honouring and so sweet. I can almost taste it. I want it that much. But as I said, with harm to none and competition from none, so it will be done. And it is done. Because I'm okay staying on my own for another 29 years, if that's what the gods decree. Hasn't been easy, but I've done it. And if by some cruel, fucking sadistic fate I fall in love with yet another monster, well, my psychiatrist has already raised that red flag that he worries that it will break me again, that I will choose death again. Because he knows me. He knows my spirit. He knows that I'm older now and I've run the rat. I'm exhausted from all the psychopaths and narcopaths and sadists and perverts that I already survived from early childhood. He knows I'm done. So that's why I'm cautiously, circumspectly monitoring the situation, making sure that the love is real and genuine and heartfelt and safe for all parties concerned. I don't want to die at the hands of a man's lack of love for me ever again. I've died that way more than once. People literally have died and been vomited back to earth, and it's astonishing and it makes no sense even to me why that kept happening, why I was kept on this planet. And even during childhood, did not really want to be here anymore, but was kept here often against my own will. So you know why I fear the master-slave dynamic so much. Because my gods have kept me here on a slave planet, working so hard for my mere survival, getting nowhere, on the same hell loop, going round and round and round. And the disc jockey in my life, I did meet a gorgeous disc jockey at the Treasury Casino about, was it a year ago? Sunset Brothers. One of the Sunset Brothers came to play at the casino, took a shine to me. Instant recognition, right? He was a sweetheart. If I played my cards right, could have had a little thing with him, but you know, my sexuality's being tamped down so hard. It's like fucking concrete, people. People are trying to drill holes in my concrete and the steam's coming out of it. But anyway, He was lovely, that man. I don't know his name. He took an instant light to me. He was like, and will you come and dance for me again if we play again at the casino? Yes, I will. I can't keep that word to you now, Sunset Brothers, since the casino eased me out over envy and fucking malicious spite. But Mama T remembers you, and the love you poured out to me that night, and all the regulars at the casino were seething with envy and rage that you were just loving me for no reason, that I was dancing on my spot as fast as I can, as I always did for 12, 13 years. Well, 12 out of the 13 years, because I got mandated out for 6 months, and there was another 6 months when I was having a cold war with them when I didn't go. So, but you were lovely. But I'm using this analogy of the disc jockey, you know, his brother was spinning the discs and doing the grooving, and I thought, yes, I need to bounce off that groove and get into another groove, and this man loving on me so beautifully, probably married for all I know, like they're always fucking unavailable or married or gay, or there's always some fucking block that stands in the way of my sexual happiness, right? But he was a lovely man. I don't care that he was married. Nothing was going to happen. I was just dancing and he was just spinning the discs. And but that's when I kind of clicked on that night. I was like, yes, I'm about to move into another groove in my record of my life, and I'm about to get picked up like a needle on an album, on a record player off an album, and I'm going to be gently picked up and put onto another groove where my fucking timeline at long last is one of true, loyal, faithful to me, devoted fucking love, wonderful sex life with a man who adores me, by the way, if I have the energy and can handle it. I hope he doesn't wear me out. I'm joking, people. Alright, the sex life might not manifest, let's not be greedy. But, you know, someone who absolutely adores me and wants to be my partner. No. It's no good having a partner you can't have some bit of occasional wonderful lovemaking with. What's the point? What's the point of that? I'm better off on my own. So no, I've changed my mind. There will be healthy, constructive, delightful, honouring, gorgeous, worthy, delicious sex life with my partner when that person manifests in 3D reality and chooses me. And on this timeline, I'm starting to shunt into now, quite determinedly. There'll be enough money and resources for us to live in harmonic resonance and not struggle and fight over fucking money and live in poverty, consciousness and misery, because I'm done living like that. I'm not out to take a man's money off him or anything like that. Ideally I want my own money. But that's my manifestation anyway, that I want to be in a healthy, happy, vibrant, joyful life with a man who adores me, and like I said, our friends and family, you know, accept both of us into their circle, and, you know, we have our own community and tribe where we love each other and support each other and are there for each other. And fucking like a fairy story, king to my queen, live happily ever after, people. I've gone mad, haven't I? I've gone stark raving mad, even thinking that might be possible. It's bonkers with sleep deprivation. I'll have to rein it in. Let me keep reading. We're already into 2 hours and all I've done is rave on about Fantasies are nonsense. God's help me. I'm silly as a wheel sometimes. This is the thing. What man can put up with me creating all these fantasies and dreams that I'm not capable of rendering into real life reality for the love of all the gods? Here I write, my goal is to rent a little shop, and I will be calling my business Titania's Realm. Cute, innit? If the gods decree it, the funds will manifest to at least get enough capital to start small, then eventually get myself a shop, which is all very well, but shops cost a lot of money, and you can't guarantee if people will actually come to your shop and actually buy your stuff, so you can go broke, people. I didn't technically go broke in my business, though. My chicken takeaway shop with my husband was a thriving business when he forced me out of it, which was a great mistake on his part. Because people came to my shop partly because the food was good and we gave good quantities of food and good quality and good quantities, but they liked my fucked up weird personality. So they got rid of me and business went down rapidly. Anyway, he deserved that. He actually deserved that. So no regrets. The gods knew what they were doing. Getting revenge on my behalf in a way. I mean, I lost a lot too, but it was still worth it. Freedom, people. Freedom's worth all the fucking cooked chickens and buckets of fried chips and company cars and swimming pool and house. That was freehold, mind you, so that did fucking hurt losing that. It was worth it. It was even worth the 3 strangulations that came hot on the heels of leaving that marriage. It was worth all the malfeasance and horror that I had to keep walking away from, moving on. Even my friend Scott said to me, I'm proud how you keep moving on, Tanya. It's what I do. Things get too fucking toxic like they did at the casino last year just after my beautiful dog died. Move on. Find your vibe, find your tribe, people who love you no matter fucking what, even if they know you're a little bit batshit crazy at times. But they love you because they know what's inside you is so fucking valuable and so precious and so life enhancing and so soul nourishing and so at core good and kind and decent that they look up to you and value and cherish you. And I'm seeing that now. After all these years of struggle, I'm seeing it. And long may it continue, my darlings. May we work together as friends, as potential lovers, as family, as community, as tribe. May we work together to gift all of us together the best possible lives we can after the shit show of the last 4 years we've come through. We're waking up and we're choosing to love each other more and more and more in safe, nurturing ways. Effectively, I'm playing on that a little bit out of my dark, wry sense of humour. And together we will all heal and we will get stronger and stronger. So the next time our government pulls a fast one on us, we'll be ready. We'll fight back, or we'll fight against it, or we just simply won't comply. I want you healthy and ready, my people. And I want to be healthy too, and ready for anything, as I've always been. Good times are a-coming. I will make it so. By sheer will alone, I'm putting the energy out into the timelines, into the cosmos. Absolute. Bring us the world that is safe and loving and nurturing for all sentient beings. Not safety imposed upon us by malfeasant, life-threatening, life-destroying actions. True safety in your own body, mind and spirit, which is where it all begins and stems from, by the way. Someone said to me some months ago, weeks ago, I think it might have even been Scott, I was saying goodbye to him, he said, get home safe. You know, it's the loving, kind, nurturing thing that people say to each other. He said, I'm always safe. It starts from in here, in a natural fact. I've never been really safe. But attitude is everything, people. Own your own power inside your spirit and see how safe you become even in the midst of a maelstrom. That's what I meant by that, by the way. So, I wrote to eventually get myself a shop, and then I wrote, I know, I have said this before, but always been stymied by poor health, other people's negativity, doubts and fears, and tall poppy syndrome. So many former friends and family were envious of me, even wanting more for myself. Ghastly. It really was ghastly what my so-called husband and friends and family did to me when I was a young woman, because my father-in-law wanted me to have a paid-up house and never have to worry about money. He wanted me safe. Harry Aarons, a beautiful man who loved me truly and deeply. The only father I ever had in my entire life was Harry Aarons. Isn't that weird? It's why I still carry his name, by the way. But I'm putting it out to the universe. Help me thrive at last. Thriving means being able to afford lawn mowing, paying bills, buying enough food, living in relative comfort. My version of thriving will still fall shorter of everyone else's who have homes and partners and enough health to work hard and achieve their goals. But it is a start. I am stepping up to the plate. I am sick of doctors and other creeps making me feel disposable, useless and insane, when all I wanted from life was true love and justice and a bloody fair go. End of rant. Actually, I wrote, and a fair bloody go, which has a slightly different meaning when you think about it. I want a fair bloody go or a bloody fair go. Ever so slight different nuance to that, but you get my vibe. Today I'm still exhausted from my efforts in recent months, none of which can be monetized, damn it. But I have to laugh, but gave me a sense of creative joy and lifted me up from my usual gravel-rashed splonging in my own personal hellish shadowlands. I was shown that I'm a deeply powerful creature, creative. I was shown that I'm a deeply powerful, creative, I'm so tired, people, determined force of supernature when I put my mind to something. It's a great pity and a grave injustice that I was denied my birthright for so many decades. But the time is now to strive, to thrive, and grow my little creative endeavours into something I am proud of, my own version of success. If the excuse me, my lungs aren't liking the abrupt change from extreme heat to this cold, damp weather, so they're acting out. If the multiverses wills it, the money will come to get started, my health will improve, and opportunities will manifest exponentially. I wrote this in 2021, but here we are, 3 years later, right? It's happening, people. It's starting to happen. Dare I even hope for more? That it will keep happening exponentially? That my life is going to finally, at long last, be beautiful and awesome and carefree and loved. Who knows? Maybe even the true, heartfelt, supportive lover might one day manifest as well. I have been struggling alone, but with the support of dear friends for decades. It's time to embrace change and a new level of consciousness that gives me permission to be a lot more prosperous. I am worthy. The Tanya has spoken and or written her new manifestation. So mote it be in the eternal now. Amen. Bismillah. Just scroll back. Because I've got chills, people. Yes, it was 3 years ago today. I've got chills. They're multiplying. And I'm losing control. There's a fire. Something, something. Well, anyway. I've got chills, but in a good way, at seeing that manifestation I put out 3 years ago is starting to happen, people. It actually started almost immediately, astonishingly and but grotesquely, after the death of my beautiful Beauregard. So it's almost like when he left this planet, my beautiful boy, he took all the evil and toxicity that had been sitting on my shoulder like a fucking albatross. Almost like his spirit took that all with him to be returned to its original source and removed from me. It's magical and it's spiritual and it's bloody miraculous and astonishing. And of course, I'd rather I had my dog with me. I didn't want him. I didn't want him. I didn't want to lose him that way. But that's what seems to have happened. It's like he was taken from me by the gods, and in return I was gifted all this love and recognition and admiration, respect and heartfelt sweetness and tenderness and genuine care, and even a resolution to my long-standing fucking bladder issues, so my health can improve somewhat, please God. Be'ezrat Hashem, it improves my life, because it could go either way, people. Let's be real here. I'm always hanging in the balance like the hanged man, hanged woman. But I'm surrounded by people who do love me, my true friends, and they're showing to me quite, in no uncertain terms, that they are my true friends. To you, my darlings, thank you for being there with me through all of this long, hard struggle to self-determination. Here I write, a reminder to all my magical folk, healers, friends, light workers, lovers of the multiverses, shamans, witches, and goddess worshippers, and anyone else interested in the expanded consciousness. The next sacred space, spiritual social circle, will be held at Orley Park, West End, on 10th of April 2021, 3 to 5. No one fucking showed up, right? What a shame. I really did want to build that into something wonderful. But my friends Lynn and Jared supported me. We met up, but what I mean is no one else came along. And I was looking forward to that actually manifesting. But never mind, we tried a few times, and no one came. You've got to be some elite member of some popularity fucking club for people to come to your groups, right? It's ridiculous. Anyway, never mind. I still study all those topics every day on YouTube, and I still immerse myself in that because I love it. I'm a metaphysician, I'm a shaman, I'm a witch, I'm a Jew, I'm an occultist. I study all of that. That's my life's passions. When I'm not dying of bladders and sleep apnea and shitty fucking lungs, I'm studying the paranormal every day in every way, and living it too. Like when I met those beautiful bluing Aboriginal women at the front of the at the back of the Koala Tavern the other night. I walk my walk on a daily basis, and it can be a bit astonishing and confronting at times. But that's my path, that's my spirit, that's my work. If you are interested in meeting like-minded people interested in all things paranormal, metaphysical, magical, then do come along. The topic will be aliens, UAPs, a wide subject, so we will have lots of input, especially if any of you are experiencers. Blessed be from my sacred space, heart, mind, body, soul integration, to yours. A $5 donation is appreciated, or other energy transfer such as a story, an offering to the Fae or ancestral spirits, or your own positivity and openness to show up and join with us. We are about sharing joy and raising energy. Bring a blanket or chair to sit on, snacks if you wish to picnic with us, something to drink, a jacket or cardigan if it's a cool afternoon. Bring your masks as there is yet another outbreak in the Brisbane community. We will sit in circle 1.5 metres apart, which even I thought was bullshit, but, I was making sure that we were towing the party line, making sure everyone felt safe and comfortable. Bring hand sanitizer, no hugging or handshaking. However, we will be out in fresh air, so may not need masks unless a large group forms. I hated the masking bullshit too. Come in unity equals community. Probably should try and kick that off again now that people are no longer living in abject terror of catching COVID, because that was just a terrorisation of the masses, wasn't it? It was awful. My psychiatrist says I am obsessional and wondered when that kicked in. I quipped, at my last near-death experience with the surgery when I realised I might die with having achieved so little. He scribbled that down in his notes. He agreed with me that I am riddled with a driven kind of angst because I have been so physically ill in recent weeks, striving to attain the impossible and feeling pressured because I sense, hopefully erroneously, that I'm dying. I'm always dying, people, when I'm not living fully and defiantly and outrageously and ebulliently, like my wild dance on Friday and Saturday night. That was a force of nature and of supernature too. He says it's a fixture of intelligent people to try to push ourselves when the chips are down. Only my chips have been down for long decades, and it's long past time I cashed in the fucking chips and made something of myself. Sigh sighs. 26th of March 2020. I posted a link to the song Mother and Child Reunion by Paul Simon in 1972. For Crystal and Jasmine, children of my revolution, involution, in a time of desecration, plague and treachery, love you. But the Tanya takes shit from no one, not even the fruit of my own much beleaguered, tortured loins and broken heart. So I was gifting them that song, not that they ever look at my Facebook or YouTube videos anyway, because they haven't got the courage of their convictions to see what their mother really thinks about them, really, because they're cowards like my sister, narcopaths and cowards. But anyway, I find it kind of droll that I posted that song, Mother and Child Reunion, while at the same time telling them basically politely to go fuck themselves. This is the nature of the Tanya, people. If she sees through your bullshit and knows you're being abusive, she'll sweetly tell you to go fuck yourself in such a way that you'll enjoy the journey. It's one of my specialities, darlings. I posted another link, but it got removed by some malfeasant twat or bot on Facebook. So it must have been something to do with Alice in Wonderland, because I wrote, No, it can't be Alice in Wonderland. Mr. Bean. Anyway, there's kind of a reference to Alice in Wonderland in my comment here, so I'll go with it. Even though, without having the actual link, I don't know what I was actually commenting on now. But I wrote, alas, Alice got fucked over for sure. But she gets to remain free and therefore carefree. Wash that man right out of her hair. Big and small, it's all the same. Bite me. That was 2020, people. Oh, and I survived through this rather strange life. A dormouse in the teapot, surrounded by evil mad hatters for decades, without once taking LSD, cocaine, heroin, or meth, or any other mind-altering substances. I didn't smoke pot for the first time until I was 38 years of age, people, because drugs are bad, okay? All my druggy friends in my adolescence were determined to keep me away from the drugs because they knew how I have a tendency to throw myself at things full tilt, and they were being very protective of me. Bless. I actually needed some of those drugs to cure my complex trauma issues, but they didn't know that at the time, and neither did I. So, shit. Never mind. I'm too old now to start a career as a drug addict. I don't want that in my life. I helped too many friends that were on heroin. You know, I supported an entire family when their daughter was on the methadone program and would constantly slip back into heroin. I know not to do that to myself, damage my life completely in that way. I know I knew not to go there, even as a young child, teenager. I continue writing. I only got to heal a great deal of my traumas with cannabis after I was 40, in moderation. Even my ex-boyfriend, who was an experienced drug user, used to joke that I had so many psych meds on board they had not even begun to have fun with the drugs I was on yet. Smart ass. He really was a bastard, you know. He really was. But anyway, I was so munted out on heavy psych meds, I wouldn't even admit to myself about what a prick he was. Never mind. It's all part of the learning journey, people. I don't regret anything. I've reached a point of gnosis. Even my enemies gifted me immensely on who I do not want to become, or be like, or live like, or act like. Great learning experiences on the coalface, on my feet, fighting as hard as I could to stay alive against the odds. It's astonishing, people. I carry on. I hear MDMA, shrooms, LSD, ayahuasca are all good for complex trauma. But I healed my mind with 20 years of talking therapy, my characteristic dark sense of humour, dancing, the very rare spliff, and a great amount of sheer determination instead, clutching at life by my fingernails. Perhaps in truth I only healed by surviving so many close shaves with death that it all became rather ridiculous. A bit subliminal, this meme. So it was a meme I shared that some arsehole took down. My younger daughter is named Jasmine Ariel Aarons. Ariella Bat Michael Vilruth Tanya. Like the rest of the Aarons women, she has not found a life partner, although since then she has, and I'm told he's a wonderful man and she's very happy. So that's good news. One of my daughters has found true love. But at this point in time, 2020, I wrote, she's not found a life partner yet. I raised strong, independent, smart women. No point crying over the fact they don't have much care for me as their mother. Well, I could cry. I've cried oceans over that over the years, and now I'm all dried out like a husk, babies. It is what it is. They are free and strong, not dependent on men or any other human. That is a virtue in a time of constant abuse and crisis. While their mother was down the rabbit hole, gathering her pieces of soul back after decades of trauma and varied abuses, my daughters were travelling Europe, experiencing life as wanderers, a truly Phillips tradition. Phillips is my maiden name, my father's family line. Das Wandern ist das Müllers Lust. Fuck it. That's a song in German. Das Wandern ist das Müllers Lust. Sort of goes like that. In other words, tramping around the countryside is the greatest joy of, I'm not quite sure who Müller is, if it's a miller or if it's just the name of someone. Anyway, fuck it, we're wanderers and travellers and seafarers in our bloodlines, and we have the urge at all times to want to travel and to want to be free and to run wild. And since I don't have the financial resources to travel or to wander or to go to strange and exotic and unique spaces, the sacred spaces I always dreamed of going to, I can't do it because I'm trapped by poverty. So I go there in my mind, people. Machu Picchu is just lovely at this time of year. No, I actually look at them on YouTube and all the sacred sites that I've long dreamed about visiting in this physical form, in this 3D reality, by the way. But it's in our blood, that desire to be like gypsies, to wander, to travel, to be in different spaces, all the while dragging our lunacy and our crap with us, usually. Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you don't heal your body, mind and spirit of the family histories and traumas, you just carry it with you like so much excess baggage. And by the gods, I'm so happy that I shedded a lot of that baggage through the great gift of talking therapy with my doctor and my fierce determination to both stay alive and thrive so that all my dreams could be made manifest one day, hopefully soon in the not too distant future if I'm not dreaming. Still in 2020, I posted an article. Chinese firm shipped out Australian hand sanitizer, mask, medical supplies. So we were exporting it to them and they sent it back to us. Oh, the irony. I replied, it's biological war, not cool. I will still, however, not endorse racism against our citizens of Chinese background. They are not to blame for the genocidal greed of their country of birth. Our own government is grossly mismanaging resources for us marginalised Australians. It's disgusting. Later I wrote, I had a lovely day today. Conference calls with new friends. Even sigh, laughing my ass off, if they did need to become accustomed to my face. You have to laugh. It's a friend of mine who's a Jewish shaman. He works with I can't remember what tribe, but he works with a Native American tribe, and he's a practicing, shaman, although he's a Jew by birth. So he invited me to one of the Zoom conferences, and of course there were lots of other Jewish people in the Zoom. And one of the women looked at me and she said, I like your attitude even though I don't like your face. I said, what's wrong with my face? She says, you don't look Jewish. Are you even really Jewish? And my steam blew out of my fucking ears, right? And I just looked at her and I went, yes, I am Jewish. And she said, okay then, you seem cool to me. And even my friend Michelle, because they were very close friends of his, even he kind of looked at her because it was just so nasty and insulting. And I must admit, I was upset for about 3 days after that phone call about that. It fucking upset me. And but then, as fate might have it, that particular woman and her husband, they were extremely wealthy, this couple. They did something in another said something in another Zoom conference, and in true Tanya style, because I pay attention to these little details, I took my friend Michelle aside and I said, that wasn't very nice what they're doing, it's very undermining, and I witnessed that. And even he kind of said, we've been such close friends for so many years and I can't believe it. And I went, well, you just tuck that under your hat, I said to him. I said, I don't like what I'm seeing, and because I'm not invested in it emotionally, I can highlight it to you, but it's up to you what you do with that. I can't remember what it was now, but it was just kind of so invalidating of him, and he was trying to bring us all together to be a support network to get us through the worst of the COVID lockdowns in 2020, right? So it was just a little bit icky. Anyway, I participated in his conference calls for a few weeks there, and he is indeed a lovely man. To you, Michelle. And but your friends, Jesus, like me, many times in life I've had to reevaluate friendships. It is what it is. Nothing like the fear of death and the COVID sort of Damocles hanging over everyone's head in 2020 to reveal true colours, by the way. Had to shed a lot of people during that epoch. A lot of people, and no regrets. I'll do it happily again tomorrow if I have to. As Scott observed, and he said to me the other day on Saturday night, I'm proud of you for moving on and continuously moving on, Tanya. So he's obviously witnessed all the viciousness over the years and knows what my spirit is capable of. Chewing my own arm off and continuously keeping myself free of abusers. I'm running out of arms to chew off though. It's getting a bit... I'll be armless soon. Oh, I'm joking. Don't actually want to be armless. I'm fairly harmless though, apart from that. Even so, laughing my ass off if they did need to become accustomed to my face. Phone calls from my beautiful Lynn and handsome and very sick Jared. I think he had COVID at the time. I had to walk around the block with Beauregard and Charlie and two chats, keeping a safe distance with people in the hood. Then home to make zucchini fries, another attempt, and now watching Freud on Netflix. It was a beautiful sunny day today, warm and comforting. Life is good. Not like today, day 3 of pissing rain, right? Well, it has to happen sometimes. But I'm drawing attention to you, to my front gate that was covered in little pictures from the sweet little boys, the Scott family down the road that subsequently moved away. But, they were lovely to me. The mum and dad had the little boys making little pictures every day, and it was just delightful. Another drawing from the family of boys who found Charlie. That's how we became friends. Charlie ran away for 3 or 4 days, and I put a little ad out on the Gem Box Facebook page. Says, anyone maybe found my bird? She's gone missing. And they responded, I got her back. Oh, I was so grateful to have my Charlie back. I really was. But that's how we formed this wonderful friendship with the Scott family and their beautiful little boys. They are so gorgeous, creating art and sending me blessings in a time of COVID-19. Let me try and read their little childlike writing. Here they drew a little rainbow lorikeet. And what else did they have? From Winston. Can't quite read his little childlike writings. To staying away. To staying away. I think he meant COVID. Hope COVID stays away. But he drew a little picture of a dinosaur. And from Winston. Don't you love how little boys, he was only about 6, how they transpose the letters in their name? Here it is. Where is it? Lost it. Here. Winston. Oh, I miss it. He was a sweet, he was very gifted, that little boy. He's a natural psychic. I pray to all the gods he keeps those abilities, because that will really help him in life when he gets older. I asked him what he wanted to be when he grew up. He was a little chubby boy, liked his tucker. His mother was always at him about overeating. The other little boys weren't overeaters, but he was. He was a little twin soul, my little Winston. Although I wasn't chubby as a child. I was lean because I was always running away from my family and swimming and riding bicycles and climbing very large hills, which here in Brisbane you would call mountains, but are just normal hills in New Zealand. And climb every mountain, and I'd be chasing horses, and so I was slim as a child. But anyway, little Winston had a little bit of a weight problem, and his mother was constantly focusing on it, which I didn't actually think was a good idea either, but not my child, so I kept out of that. But anyway, I asked him one day, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up, Winston? I want to be a chef. And I said, oh, what kind of things are you going to cook? And he said, vegetables. And I smiled and I laughed. I pulled a face. He said, why are you pulling a face, Tanya? I said, I hate vegetables. Can't you cook something nicer for me? So we had this ongoing joke about that I hate vegetables. And whenever I went round there, little Winston would say, have you eaten your vegetables today, Tanya? And his mother Claire would say, have you, Tanya? You need to eat your vegetables. And one day I went there and they gave me a little gift and a little box of Maltesers. And Winston said, you can only eat the Maltesers, Tanya, after you've eaten your vegetables. And so I joked, more for Claire's benefit, well, you can't have your pudding unless you eat your meat. And she burst out laughing, but it was over his head because it's a Pink Floyd reference. But anyway, they were lovely. They were lovely, and I was disappointed they didn't stay in touch with me when they moved away, but I got very distressed. I cried a lot when they told me they were moving away. I cried and cried and cried and cried, and it freaked them out. But, it was just, I never had grandchildren, and, it was COVID, and I felt so alone, and I was never particularly all that frightened. I was a bit frightened when I couldn't get proper food, but it was just the thought that, I could get COVID and die, because that was constantly being reinforced to me, by the way, and that I'd never see my grandchildren, and I had this beautiful friendship with these little boys, and my little girls down the road that I'm still friends with, but it just hurt so much that they were moving away. So I couldn't control it. I cried so much in front of them. Anyway, I think that's why they cut ties to me. They must have thought that I was too invested or too emotional, too nutty, as happens sometimes. I can be quite raw and emotional. But you know what? I'm not ashamed of that. I'm a real woman with real heart and soul, and I honour my emotions even if other people find it confronting at times. Here I posted a meme. I'll have to show you the photo because it's actually bloody hilarious. Try and get rid of the reflections. Anyway, all I see is reflections. I don't know how much you can see. But it says, the dog's turning to the man with a cone on his head. It's for your own good. You have to stop touching your face. In troubling times, it's always nice to come across something to make you smile. And I wrote, hilarious, because even before the COVID thing hit, I have a bad habit of touching my face. It's like when I wear makeup, I have to try not to touch my face because there's mirror everywhere. It's kind of a nervous habit.